June 1947. The Strait of Malacca. Two American vessels, the Silver Star and the City of Baltimore, intercept a distress signal cutting through the static. A trembling voice, broadcasting in English, delivers a message that the radio operators will never forget. All officers, including captain, are dead. Lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. A long pause. Then nothing but garbled dots and dashes, frantic, incoherent, desperate. And then, two final words, "I die." And the signal goes dark. When rescuers finally board that ship, what they find is worse than anything they could have imagined. Every single person on board, dead. Their faces locked in expressions of pure, undiluted terror. And before anyone can figure out why, the ship catches fire and sinks, erasing every last piece of evidence from the face of the earth. The SS Orang Medan was a Dutch cargo freighter operating trade routes through Southeast Asia, or at least that's what the limited records suggest. When the Silver Star received the distress call, Captain Clayton of the American merchant vessel changed course immediately, racing toward the Orang Medan's last known position in the waters between Sumatra and Malaysia. It took hours, but when the Silver Star finally spotted the Dutch freighter, the crew knew something was deeply wrong. The Orang Medan was drifting. No movement on deck, no response to signals, no signs of life whatsoever. A boarding party was assembled. Armed sailors climbed across to the silent vessel. And what they found has haunted maritime history ever since. The entire crew of the Orang Medan was dead. Not just dead. Frozen in postures of absolute horror. Bodies were scattered across the deck, the bridge, the chart room, the boiler room. Their eyes were wide open, staring at nothing. Their mouths were stretched into silent screams. Their arms were raised, reaching outward, as if trying to push away something that wasn't there. The captain's body lay on the bridge. Officers were sprawled across the chart room floor, exactly as the distress call had described. Even the ship's dog was dead, found on the foredeck with its teeth bared in a snarl, frozen mid-growl at an invisible enemy. But here's what made the Silver Star crew's blood run cold. There was not a single wound on any of the bodies. No gunshots. No stab wounds. No signs of disease or poisoning that they could see. No evidence of a struggle. Nothing was damaged. Nothing was out of place. Whatever killed the crew of the Orang Medan did it quickly, silently, and left no trace except the terror carved permanently into their faces. Captain Clayton ordered his men to begin a thorough search of the vessel. They needed answers. They needed to find the cargo manifest, the ship's log, anything that could explain what had happened on board. But they barely had time to begin. As the boarding party moved toward the cargo hold below deck, one of the sailors reported something strange. The air felt wrong. Despite the tropical heat of the Strait of Malacca, the lower decks of the Orang Medan were freezing cold. An unnatural chill hung in the corridors, thick enough that some men could see their own breath. Then came the smoke. A thin plume, rising from deep within the number 4 cargo hold. Before anyone could react, the smoke thickened. Fast, the boarding party scrambled back to the deck as fire began tearing through the ship's interior with terrifying speed. Captain Clayton gave the order to evacuate immediately. Every man from the Silver Star abandoned the Orang Medan and retreated to their own vessel. And then they watched. The fire consumed the Orang Medan from the inside out. Within hours, a massive explosion ripped through the hull, so violent that the ship was lifted partially out of the water before it cracked apart and plunged beneath the surface of the Strait of Malacca. It sank so quickly and so completely that nothing was left. No wreckage, no debris, no bodies. And when investigators later tried to trace the ship's history, they ran into something almost as disturbing as the deaths themselves. The SS Orang Medan did not appear in any shipping registry. Lloyd's of London, the most comprehensive maritime record in the world, had no file on her. The Dutch Shipping Authority had no record. No port had any documentation of her arrivals or departures. It was as if the ship and every soul aboard her had never existed at all. What killed the crew of the Aurang Medan? Over the decades, several theories have emerged, and each one raises more questions than it answers. The most widely accepted explanation involves the cargo. Some researchers believe the Aurang Medan was secretly transporting a combination of potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin, materials so dangerous that they were banned from most legitimate shipping routes. If seawater had leaked into a poorly sealed hold, a chemical reaction could have released clouds of toxic gas, cyanide fumes that would kill everyone on board within minutes. The contorted expressions, the lack of physical wounds, the sudden death, it all fits. And the nitroglycerin would explain the fire and the catastrophic explosion. But there's a problem. If the cargo was that volatile, who loaded it? And why does no government or company have any record of the shipment? Aircrew theory suggests the Aurang Medan was part of a covert post-war operation, transporting captured Japanese chemical weapons, possibly nerve agents, from Unit 731, out of Southeast Asia before anyone could document their existence. In the chaotic aftermath of World War II, multiple governments were quietly moving biological and chemical weapons across borders. A ship carrying such cargo off the books would explain why no records exist. The crew's deaths, sudden, agonizing, leaving no visible injuries, are consistent with nerve agent exposure. And the fire, possibly set deliberately to destroy the evidence. Then there are those who look at the freezing temperatures on a tropical ship, the expressions of pure terror on the crew's faces, and the complete absence of the vessel from any record. And they conclude that whatever happened aboard the Aurang Medan simply cannot be explained by science. Not yet. Here's what we know for certain. In June of 1947, a distress call was sent from a vessel identifying itself as the SS Aurang Medan. That call was received by at least 2 ships in the Strait of Malacca. A rescue party boarded the vessel and found the crew dead under inexplicable circumstances. The ship then caught fire and sank, and after that, nothing. No wreckage was ever recovered. No bodies were ever identified. No government ever claimed the ship or its crew. No investigation ever produced a final report. The ocean swallowed the Aurang Medan whole, and every institution that should have had records about her simply didn't. Some skeptics argue the entire incident was fabricated, a maritime legend built on second-hand accounts and newspaper sensationalism. But the distress call was real. The Silver Star was a real ship. Captain Clayton was a real man. Something happened in the Strait of Malacca in the summer of 1947. We just don't know what, and the only witnesses, every last one of them, died screaming, staring at something the rest of us will never see. You made it this far. You're the kind of person who doesn't look away from the dark. Subscribe to Dark Archive, because next week we're going somewhere even darker. In 1959, 9 experienced hikers fled their tent in the middle of a Siberian blizzard, cutting it open from the inside rather than using the entrance. Some were found barefoot. Some were found with missing eyes and tongues. Soviet investigators concluded they died from a, quote, compelling natural force. The case was classified for 30 years. That story is next. Don't miss it.